Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. This time, we're going back into Tempest Jubilee, but now Normal Battle 2, which wants us to use an Earth Nuker. So, I mean, just straight up, I'm sorry. Earth is still the worst meta in terms of actual unit selection. We do not have a lot of decent Earth nukers, so if you don't have Elmesia, or you don't have, Octogram Daggrull, who's now EX Unbound and all that, then sorry, it's not my fault. I'm going to show you some teams, but if you don't have those two, you're going to be a little sad. But Normal Battle 2 is another AoE stage against bats. They don't really do that much damage, and they also don't really prevent you from going past turn 3. The turn bonus is turn 3, so if you want to get your max score, you have to kill. But the starting hand is for green orbs, which is not difficult. So there is nothing that says you can't use a stacking team and just go for a while. So we're definitely going to do that. Like, we're going to show the max score team that I've got, because obviously it's maxed out with Daggrull, and then we've got an Elmesia team. But after that, like, it's up to you how you want to approach this battle. So disclaimers: number one, your results may vary, especially since Earth sucks. So use what you got. Please use this as a guide and build around any kind of Earth team that you have available, or at least Earth Nuker, and just flood the team with supports. Disclaimer number two is that these are the units I use for protection gauge, and these are the units I use for skill points, which I don't think I actually use, but oh well. And then disclaimer number three is don't forget to go into your town of Tempest and optimize your Earth buildings, so whatever Earth character you're going to bring can hit as hard as possible. Alright, here is the max score team that I have for Normal Battle 2. Velzard, Isis, the hero, and Diablo here again. They're going to be here a lot in the future. And then we've got newly EX awakened Daggrull, which if you don't have him, then you're going to have to put Elmesia in here. And then we have Dark Millum for the orb change, and that's the only reason she's here, is the turn 1 orb change, since it's a turn 1 special convert for greens. But it's still a turn 3 fight, and thankfully Daggrull has a really cheap set of buffs. 100% weakness strike and 50% alt damage for, I think, 40 points total for himself, which means that we have a lot of skill points left over to use other things. And again, if you want to max this team out, you do have to only take 1 damage from all the bats, which I don't think is actually that much of a problem on this fight, particularly, at least in the early stages. So we'll use the 0-cost green buff from Diablo, use the orb change, and then Daggrull's up front. We do need an EX ult for him, though, which the ult rush from the hero is definitely going to help out. But we do need to also make sure we just get orbs for him on both this turn and the rewind turn. So we got, what, 2 orbs, 3 orbs right there? So 1, and a 1, and a 1. So that's what we're looking for right there. So we got 3 orbs for him, which is fairly good, because he also does rush his own ult by 50%. So 30 plus another 50%. The weakness strike lasts for 2 turns, so we can actually leave him up front and not have to worry about it leaving early. And now with these 3 buffed green orbs, we're actually going to be able to get his ult very, very easily. So even not getting a lot of orbs for him, not that big of a deal. But obviously if you don't have Daggrull, who has the ult rush, then you have a little bit more problem. But now that we've got the buff, and he's especially got the weakness strike, we don't want to send him last, because he would, I think, straight up just kill one of the bats, and that's not what we're looking for. So here's the rewind. He has the weakness strike already, so let's go ahead and use the pierce buff, and then we'll send him away to the back, and then we'll just simply need to make back enough points to use the Diablo buff and the Isis buff. And then if we have enough left over, we can use Daggrull's own personal buff. So another full green swap. The green buff is still active from Diablo now. So boom, 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 boom. Perfect. 150 skill points. That means we have 180 ready to go next turn, which is going to be enough to use, I think, everything that we care about. So we don't need to use Millum's buff, because we're already getting alt buffed from Daggrull himself. While it is a lower amount, it's much, much cheaper. So that's what we're really shooting for. So let's use the synergy buff. That'll apply to the backline, and then we can swap him out we can swap Diablo out for Daggrull, who now has Pierce and the Weakness Strike and the Synergy. Now the ult resistance down, and now the 50% ult damage. We technically already have the element buff and the Drago effect, but we're going to use it again for funsy onesies. So in case you need to get extra damage out here, like you have an AoE charm or something, or an Earth Attack charm, that'll work. And then we simply send Daggrull, and he does 3.1 million damage across the board in 3 turns with only taking 1 damage hits. So this gets us the max score right here. So 6 hits, 0 damage. We definitely did the damage cap. Turn bonus, turn 3, looking good. Do you have Daggrull? Yes, no. Is he skill fused? That's the other important thing, is that Daggrull's skills before the skill fusion are awful. And now with his double skill fusion, he is actually a reliable Earth AoE nuker. So it's a pretty heavy ask that you have the new masked hero, Diablo, Daggrull, who is both skill fused and EX on, like, well, he's EX right now, he's not unbound, but he's level 100. So, like, this, not really a team that I'm going to see a lot of people be able to do, but you can at least take, you can swap Daggrull out for Elmesia, and you call it a day, and you could run almost the same exact team. It's just Elmesia is much more expensive than Daggrull is. But, you know, still get mostly the same results. But there's my max score team. Let's move on. Okay, so in the event you don't have Daggrull or you can't run that exact team and you can just slot Elmesia in, here's an alternate team that has the other strong AoE nuking character, Elmesia. Velzard again, but now we've got Exalted Champion Rimuru, alt swap, attack buff. We're going to need both of those. Veldora for the turn 1 convert. That's why we have both him and Rimuru in slots 1 and 2. We've got the old masked hero, Elmesia, and then Violet. So this team, we're going to have to skip ahead a little bit. This team does hit damage cap. However, we do push to turn 4, which means you're not going to get max score because you're going to lose like 2,000 points or something off of your turn bonus. Not really that big of a deal if you really don't care about it that much. Like, if you're okay with losing that, then Elmesia and this team very easily gets you the damage cap at bare minimum, while still taking not a lot of damage. So for people who are not trying to max it out, this will work. So turn 1, we used Veldora to convert because we had 2 Exalted Champion characters in slots 1 and 2 for their orbs to change, and now we've got 115 points. We can do the rewind, we can use the green buff now, and then we need to make sure that we get some Elmesia orbs, because specifically with this team, we don't have a way to alt rush now. So Elmesia, unless you get like literally a 6-hand of her or something, gonna be tough to get the EX alt on turn 2 for the rewind ready to nuke on turn 3. So that's why we're not gonna worry about that here. We're gonna just push to turn 4, and we're gonna take whatever orbs we can and just use them. And while you very much could use the Enamor effect on Elmesia, that only happens after the turn is over. So on the rewind, it's not going to kick in. It's only going to kick in when it actually clicks over to turn 3, by which point we're probably going to have the EX ult. Because, yeah, we only need 2 orbs for her to cover this amount, I think. Maybe we need 3. So this might actually be not a super great run, but it just confirms that, yeah, just push to turn 4. Because you need turn 3 to build up more points, maybe buff a little bit and send Elmesia away. It kind of just depends on what we're doing here. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, that's actually enough to get the EX ult. So that's fine. So we don't actually need to use the Enamor. That would have just been a waste of points. So here we are. We've spreading out the damage. Turn 3 is here. We do have an EX ult, but I know this from testing. Elmesia does not do the damage cap on turn 3. We need to hold to use everything here. So we'll use the magic buff, we'll send Violet away, we'll bring Rimuru in, we'll use the alt swap so we get 2 rainbows here, and then we have enough left over to use the attack buff, and then we can send Elmesia to the back for Veldora. But we're going to use Velzard first, because I don't want Veldora to have that element buff, because I don't want to kill the bats this turn. So we don't want him to do any unnecessary damage. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and 5, and then 6. So now we have another 150 points, which is actually going to be 180. We've already used the magic buff and the attack buff, which means now we have enough points to use Elmesia's buff and the hero's buff. So now we have everything activated, and the only sacrifice is 1 turn. But in exchange, you can do damage cap now, which is a much more important part of your scoring than turn bonuses. So now Elmesia comes in, we'll use her big buff, and then we'll use the hero. We don't need to use that skill, I don't know why I clicked it, but there's the crit and the crit resistance down. We'll use Velzard again. I don't have any attack charm on her, but if you do have an attack charm, then it'll help your damage. And then Elmesia does 2.2 million. So there we go, across the board. That's damage cap. It's not turn bonus, but we also didn't really take that much damage. Like, yeah, we didn't take any damage, actually. And the only thing we lost was a couple thousand points. Tragedy, I know, right? So just go to turn 4 if you need to. Don't worry about the turn bonus. Speaking of not worrying about turn bonus, there is no detriment to you going further than that, except your turn bonus score, which, as we see, is not a huge portion of your score. So if you want to go to turn 8 with a stacking team and nuke with Elmesia or nuke with someone else, you certainly can. So we're going to run the Ogre's Pride team because it's really strong. It's got a little butt ton of buffs. And we're going to nuke with Elmesia again, or even like old Daggrull. Like, you could have him not skill fuse not 100. And I think he would do pretty good damage on this team because it just has so much power. But, Benimaru on turn 8, 100% Pierce power. He's stacking alt. We've got the magic buff. We've got attack and synergy power. We've got Pierce and synergy. We've got weakness strike. So, like, I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me stack for 8 turns, but we're going to stack for 8 turns with the Ogre's Pride team, and it's going to go about as well as you would think it would, and we're going to do way too much damage, and the sacrifice is your turn bonus score. So you could take a really, really weak AoE nuker here, Earth, or maybe even not AoE, just a single target. You could bring frickin' Earth Lumi, bitch-ass Earth Soe. Like, you could bring some Earth unit here, and they would probably output a lot of damage as long as they're magic, because this is a magic-focused team. But as we're going to sack off turn 1 and just pray that we can get some better hands for turn 2, because we have both Violet and Soe to convert, and thankfully we do get that. So we can now start really building up our stacks here. I'm running the alt gauge charm on Benimaru, because getting alt for a blue stacking team is not the most fun thing sometimes, and we just want to get rid of that. And we're already going to do way too much damage, so I'm not worried about extra stacks of Benimaru. And we're also going to use the Elmesia Enamor effect on this run. So you're just going to stack, and you just pray you get a lot of Elmesia orbs. And if you don't, well, then you just use the Enamor skill over and over and over again, and you'll get 15, 30% free alt gauge on some turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Just don't send Elmesia last. You don't want that 200% orb because you're trying to keep everybody alive. Or at least one of them alive, I guess, because as you'll find out, we don't need everybody here to do damage cap. But we're still taking 1 damage. They're going to ramp up their damage a little bit by turn 8, so you're not going to get a perfect score there. But we're getting multiple orbs of Elmesia every turn, which is great. So now we're just going to skip ahead. We have, I think, we don't have enough. All right, so next turn we're going to Enamor, and we're going to really start getting some alt gauge. But convert to blue orbs, and then on turn 8, you just use all of your points. Just full big-time mommy nuke. So I will show the Enamor turn here for turn 4, and then we'll skip ahead to the nuke. But yeah, and it's fairly... And you don't have to use Ogre's Pride. I've got 2 other stacking teams I'm going to show you after this, none of which have Elmesia on them. So it'll work. You know what? We're just going to skip. So turn 8. Okay. So here's the turnover to turn 8. Now we have the EX ult for Elmesia in the back. We've used the Violet buff already on her, so she's already got that available. And now we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then because we've used 300 skill points in the turn, we can activate the full power of Soe. And then we're gonna get the 100% Pierce power from Benimaru and the final stack of alt. And we're gonna do way too much damage. Like, hilarious amounts of damage for a normal battle. So, let's see how much we do. Oh, a casual crit over there for 2 as well. So we do like 30 million damage. And what's our score look like? So yeah, we took a minus 90 on the damage received. We definitely got with the weakness damage. And then the turn bonus, like, yeah, it's not 25,000. It's also not terribly low for going to turn 8. You could have probably nuked on turn 6 and you would have been fine. So, yeah, just stack. There's nothing saying that you can't do that. If you don't care about getting a max score, just stack with an Earth character. Alright, the next team I have for you is another stacking team, but this one actually gives you extra damage versus space enemies. It's Warrior's Mind, and it does have a 2 strong single target nuking characters. Depending on how you want to approach this, you could double nuke with both Rimuru and Guy. I think in this run I only nuked with Guy, but obviously you could also try an AoE nuke with either Lumi or Violet. Either way really does work. It's just you're gonna again stack. If you're gonna use Lumi, probably best to go to turn 8. I don't think I actually went to turn 8 as well, so this run probably could have been a lot better as far as score is concerned, because we were not activating the full power of Lumi's buff, but it's going to work the same way that the Elmesia team did last clip. It's just, you're going to stack. We just brought Wind Lumi so we could actually have a good turn 1, because we're going to need some points here. So sometimes it's better to give up the full hand of blues if you've got like a mostly greens, especially if your Lumi is skill fused and she can convert any color to green instead of just the special convert. But you're going to do a lot of damage with this fight. And I think I took off all the gear off of everyone except for Guy, because I was intentionally trying to just single target nuke with him. Velzard's giving them attack. Guy is giving alt damage and guaranteed crits. Lumi's giving physical buff. And then at turn 8, it's crit resistance as well. Okay, well that was a failed run, so let me go find the real run. Okay, so here's the real run. We actually got lucky on turn 2. We only needed to use a Guy's orb change, and we got mostly Guy orbs. So this works very, very well in getting his EX ult. But we also have Evil Rimuru to ult rush pretty much everyone on this team besides Wind Lumi. So this team works well, and it'll get you the damage. I don't know if you want to double nuke or AoE nuke. If you use this team, let me know how it goes and which way you decided to swing for your nuking characters. But it's fine for the most part. You just need a little bit of luck because this hand isn't that great. we can make it work though. So Violet's going to convert all of those, and then that'll leave the rest of the orbs for Guy to change. Boom. Boom. We could have used Lumi's gimmick skill before we had swapped her away. I didn't realize how many points it was going to take, but oh well. So it's turn 3. We already have over 1 ult for Guy, and we're going to be able to start ult rushing with Rimuru. As you use more and more protector stacks, his ult rush will become greater and greater until you hit 5, 6 stacks, and it maxes out and it gives just a whole ult gauge. But there's the EX ult, like right there. So we're good. So let's cut forward. Now it's turn 5. Alright, so orb change, boom, boom. We're going to send these two, we're going to kill off this other low HP bat, and then we'll nuke on turn 6. So again, Lumi is not going to be at full power. We're not going to have the most amount of stacks with Protector Velzard, but just give you an example of what this single target nuke is going to do with most of the buffs active. So Rimuru, you can get out of here. Again, you may be better off double single target nuking with Rimuru and Guy and keeping everyone else alive. I don't know how you'd keep all the bats alive at that point, but especially for 8 turns, you do extra damage. So 1 more stack of Velzard, so it's 12% attack times like 4 or 5 stacks or something. And Guy does 1.9 million, and we're missing half of Lumi's skill, so he would have hit well over 2.4 or something like that. So yeah, it works. If on Warrior's Mind, team is quite old, so maybe you have it, maybe you don't, maybe you pulled it off a whole bunch of free tickets or something, but there's an option for you. Alright, today's sad team is a sad EX Mjurran team, which you think wouldn't be that sad because EX Mjurran is an EX unit and she has an EX ult, but she's a very defensive unit and that attack stat is not doing her any favors. But we're going to put her with the stacking protector Commander Renard, stacking weakness strike and ult resistance down. We've got Coleus Rimuru for the rainbow orbs. Dark Melon will again handle turn 1 and now give the ult buff to Mjurran. who we're now going to give synergy, or not synergy, but weakness strike with Blanc, and then the magic buff with Violet. So we don't have that much power as far as buffs are concerned, but it is still an EX character, and we've got a stack and protector, so it's like, what's the worst that can happen, right? So turn 1, Milim is going to do double duty for us now, because the last time she was here, she wasn't doing anything for Elmesia, because Elmesia has her own buffs, or Daggrull has his own buffs. But turn 1, full hand of greens, cool, we'll bring Violet in. You know, you can go to turn 6, turn 8 with this team. I don't really know if it's going to help or not. This run, we go to turn 6. As far as other Earth nukers are concerned, like, what do we have? We've got, so for Earth character, I mean, you could use the idols, I guess. I didn't want to show them here because whoever has the idols are going to use them, and whoever doesn't, they can't get them, so it's not really fair, quote unquote. Other Earth characters, like the new Momiji is a support alt, so she doesn't do shit for damage, so that doesn't really work. And then you've got old 5-star characters. So Earth Milim, the big 3. Earth Benimaru. Earth Soe, single target. I guess if he's skillful, he's got crit and everything. Yeah, sure, I guess. But he needs a lot of help. And that's it. So this is just the unfortunate aspect of the worst element in the game. It's got a lot of free-to-play Earth characters. That's cool. Who's using those for damage? A lot of nobody is concerned. So I don't think we need to sit here very much longer, so let's just jump ahead to turn 4. Okay, we have an alt for Mjurran, EX alt for Blanc. Oh, we're close to an EX alt for Mjurran. That's fine. It's turn 5. So that's a good hand right there. So we can alt swap, and then we can bring Violet in and get... This should probably get us her EX alt and ready for turn 6, probably. Quote unquote, just to see how much damage. 2 more stacks of Renard. Weakness strike, alt resistance down means that our alts will hit harder. We've got extra type advantage damage, so that's good. And the weakness strike that we're getting from Renard will stack and work alongside the temporary weakness strike that Blanc is going to give us. We're just not going to activate the synergy down on her skill, because no one's giving us synergy. Because if you wanted to use, like, Visions of Coleus Lumi, Mjurran would no longer get stacks, so I don't know how well that would work as far as a stacking meta is concerned. But let's go ahead and nuke on turn 6 and see how it goes. So magic buff, we'll bring Milim in and use the attack buff, or the alt buff, and then the weakness strike. And then 1 more stack of Renard for fun. 2 more stacks of Renard, actually. And then we'll see what kind of numbers this EX Mjurran puts up. Spoiler alert, it's not very good. What level is my Mjurran? Is she done? I think she is done. Yeah, she's 120. And she does 585 across the board. 585. You know, maybe not the strongest support characters to give her some damage, but yeah. So that's the sad Mjurran team. There are probably even more sad Earth teams that you can use too, but I've got a lot. I've shown off a few teams here, so have at it. Let me know what teams you used to clear this Earth fight and how sad it was, but that's it for me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.